You're listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonati Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonati Spine procedures, Alfred Bonati, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonati and your host, Kimberly Vermel.
Actually, not once again, because I am Ethan Euchre, not Kimberly Vermel, and you are Jeff Wagstaff.
Yes, I am.
Not Dr. Alfred Bonati. Kimberly and Doc are actually on a trip out to Vegas. A lot of people don't know this yet, but they just opened a brand new institute out in Las Vegas, so they're dealing with that. It's been open, I think, since January. So just you and I today, Jeff.
Dr. Bonati somewhere out on the strip enjoying Vegas buffets as we speak.
Indeed. Great show going on today. We're going to talk to Dr. Andrew Weil here in just a moment, actually. He's got a book called Mind Over Meds, which is all about prescription drug use, how it's out of control, and how it doesn't necessarily need to be a problem. So we'll talk to him literally momentarily. And then Dr. Jordan Axe is going to stop by the studio. He just opened a new clinic called the Root Cause Clinic. They use stem cells and something called prolozone and a bunch of stuff that I don't know anything about. So he's going to tell us about that.
Very cool approach.
Yeah, when he gets in here. And actually, we had Dr. Bonati record a segment before he left because you know how he loves to talk about VA issues. That's going to be his topic in What's New in Medicine Today a little bit later on. And we'll also talk with a woman about a new survey about food confusion, how a lot of the stuff that we hear, what's good for us, what's bad for us, it's confusing as a consumer. What the hell's right?
reading some of the prep to get ready for today's show, the thing that you pointed out in the prep, Ethan, is that so many people get their nutritional information from friends and family, so they don't really have a clear picture of what the truth is.
That's a good point. But right now, as a lot of people know, the use of prescription drugs has skyrocketed in this country. And joining us right now is Dr. Andrew Weil, author of Mind Over Meds, Know When Drugs Are Necessary, When Alternatives Are Better, and When to Let Your Body Heal on Its Own. So thank you for joining us, Dr. Weil.
Happy to be here.
So it says here that we actually take 10 times more scripts as we did in the 50s. Obvious reason is that there's a lot more medications out there now. But are they all really necessary? All of these pills that are out there and a lot of these fake illnesses and diagnoses, in my opinion.
Well, I think we're taking far too much medication. By the way, it's over-the-counter medication as well as prescription. In many cases, these drugs are not necessary. In many cases, their risks exceed their benefits. Adverse drug reactions are the fourth leading cause of death in this country. If you're on 5 or more medications, there's an overwhelming risk of a serious drug-drug interaction. And some of these medications may actually prolong or intensify illnesses. They may be okay for short-term use, but not for long-term use.
Doc, how big a part of marketing is the problem? I remember, back in the day when I was a kid, you go to the doctor, you went in, you saw the doctor. I have not been in the doctor's office in the last 15 years without having more pharmaceutical reps to patient ratio in the waiting room, getting in there to pitch those doctors. How much of that affects this?
Big Pharma has a huge influence on the prescribing habits of physicians and also the expectations of patients. We're the only country other than New Zealand that allows direct-to-consumer advertising of prescription drugs. That should be ended. But, there's a deep-rooted mindset in our culture that medication is the only or the best way to treat illness. It is one way, and it has its place, but there are other ways of managing disease. It's all doctors are taught to do, and it's what patients expect.
Well, and that's the thing, too, is that it's so much easier to just say, here's a prescription for whatever and give it to you, rather than get to the root cause of what is actually affecting somebody and causing these illnesses.
Definitely. Many of these illnesses can be corrected through lifestyle modification, but that takes more time and it takes more work. But in the end, the results are worth it because they're better lasting and you avoid the risks that you get with the medications.
I'm anxious to get your opinion. My personal physician practices more what is called fundamental medicine. As opposed to always treating the symptoms, they try to get to the root cause of the problem, which just seems to be a much more common sense approach to medicine. How does that affect when you look at a particular a family physician versus someone who is practicing fundamental medicine,
Well, what I teach and practice is integrative medicine, and that's the intelligent combination of conventional medicine and natural and alternative medicine. It also goes for root causes. One of the chapters in the book discusses sleep aids. An awful lot of people in this country don't get enough sleep or enough sleep of good quality, and very many people rely on medications. All of these medications fail to reproduce normal sleep. They all suppress dreaming, which is essential for good physical and mental health. And insomnia is very complex. There's a whole field called sleep hygiene where you look at all the factors that influence sleep, everything from mattress comfort to aches and pains, to use of too much caffeine during the day, to not being able to turn your mind off. Those are all the kinds of factors you got to look at. You don't want to deal with this just by taking a medication.
Dr. Weil, actually, everything you said just hits home for me because insomnia runs my family, first of all. So that's strike one. I drink coffee all morning long, sometimes into the afternoon, strike two. I work out and train at night. I take a pre-workout loaded with caffeine, strike three. And then what else? I've been complaining that my mattress, it's getting a little older. We need a new mattress. That's strike four.
If you can't tell, he's a little high strung.
Well, and that's the thing is I don't sleep at night. It's terrible. I've tried melatonin. I've tried, all these other, I've tried teas and things like that.
Well,
nothing works.
My first advice would be to cut down and try to eliminate caffeine. I think that's...
Don't tell me that. No. I'm getting agitated, Dr. Weil. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm aware that it obviously affects my sleep patterns, but I don't know. I love my coffee.
It's a strong drug. I see people who drink 1 cup of coffee in the morning, and that's the reason they don't sleep at night.
You're kidding.
When you look at sleep medications or those over-the-counter or prescribed medications that do help people sleep, if you had to recommend any of those, what would you recommend?
Well, I would recommend none of them except for very short-term use, things like insomnia due to a death in the family or to travel. But used for more than a few days in a row, they're all dangerous. Even the common over-the-counter ones have an antihistamine that's been linked to increased risk of dementia. The only 2 products that I think are safe are the herb valerian that's been used for centuries and is quite safe, non-addictive, works well for most people, and melatonin, which you mentioned. But even with them, I would say you don't want to rely on them, all the time for sleep. They can be used short-term.
Dr. Weil, just about out of time, and there's so much in your book that we could hit upon. In closing, and very quickly, how can doctors be better trained in non-drug treatments, and what should patients look for?
Well, that's what I work on at the University of Arizona Center for Integrative Medicine. We train physicians and allied health professionals. We train them in nutrition and herbal medicine and mind-body medicine, all the things that are left out of regular medical education. We've graduated almost 1,500 physicians from intensive training. They're in practice all over the country. In my book, I tell you how to find a practitioner of integrative medicine. I'd say that's what you want to try to look for.
Perfect. All right, pick up that book. It's called Mind Over Meds, Know When Drugs Are Necessary, When Alternatives Are Better, and When to Let Your Body Heal on Its Own. Great stuff. Dr. Andrew Weil, thanks so much for joining us on American Medicine Today.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, have a good weekend. Yeah, bye-bye. Good stuff. I'm telling you, that melatonin, though, it's supposed to be a natural chemical in your brain that helps you fall asleep. See, John over here is shaking his head. It helps me fall asleep, and then for like 2 hours, and then I'm awake. And I'm wide awake in bed staring at the ceiling.
So I get nothing from it, but I am absolutely addicted to these PM products that help you sleep.
I don't know if that's good either, though, right? Well,
I think I'm getting a little nutty.
I think you've always been that way. All right, take a break. Coming up, we're going to speak with a patient who received their Bonati spine procedure 20 years ago. So we'll see about the longevity of the Bonati spine procedures. You're listening to American Medicine Today.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect 98.75% patient satisfaction. 50,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Over half our patients have suffered from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
This is the first time that I am pain-free after 18 years, and it's just wonderful. I love it.
phenomenal results, no pain whatsoever.
My pain is virtually gone. Nothing short of a miracle.
Those surgeries gave me my life back.
Already, I feel like a new person.
I'm going home new. I can chase my grandbaby now. I can garden, I can cook, and I'm really thrilled. The outcome has been remarkable.
I feel 100% better.
It's like a miracle.
It was phenomenal. It literally did change my life.
I was in a wheelchair at that time, and I left here walking.
Every single pain that I had when I came here is gone.
I'm ready to go home and feel great. This place is great. Thank you.
Everything that they said they would do, they have done, and I'm very, very satisfied and happy with those results.
I knew in surgery, in fact, I told the surgeon when he relieved the pain off the nerve.
The pain is gone. I'm feeling wonderful.
I have no pain. I feel better than I felt in 4 years from the surgery. It was almost immediate relief.
Today I am totally pain-free, which is just amazing. It's fantastic.
It definitely works. I mean, I really don't know what else to tell you. I'm happy.
You're listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonati Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonati spine procedures, Alfred Bonati, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonati and your host, Kimberly Brumell.
Hate to break it to you, but I am not Kimberly Brumell. He is not Dr. Alfred Bonati. I am Ethan Euchre, and he is Jeff Wagstaff.
Happy to be here. Just Ethan and I are sitting in while Kimberly and Doc are away at the brand new Bonati Spine Institute in Las Vegas.
Yeah. I kind of envy them because, I mean, you know, Memorial Day weekend, they're out in Vegas. They're not partiers, though. You know, Doc is laser focused all the time. Kimberly is a teetotaler. I'd be out there just probably in jail. Recreating The Hangover.
I want to think though that I know Doc's working, but I want to think that he's probably at a really nice resort, and we'll get a couple hours in at one of those fancy Vegas pools, and the nice cabanas, and maybe Doc doesn't drink, so he wouldn't have a frozen drink. Maybe a nice slushy or something. I don't know.
He'll have like a Shirley Temple. I'll have a Shirley Temple, please.
And some chicken nuggets on the side.
Anyway, the whole show is generally about the great work that Dr. Alfred Bonati does, and we intersperse some guests in there as well. But, you know, Jeff, if people are in pain, suffering, things like that, what should they do?
If you've listened to this show for whether you turn it in today for the first time or you've been listening to us for years, the amazing thing is we have talked to patients from all different walks of life, various different problems, neck, spine, sciatica, migraines. The amazing thing is the more you research alternative treatments, the more that you will see Dr. Bonati and the Bonati Spine Institute stand alone when it comes to delivering results and relief for people in pain. If you or a member of your family is suffering from any type of back pain, sciatica, headaches, you owe it to yourself. Research it, Bonati.com. Reach out to them.
Indeed. And what we're going to do right now is check in with a patient who actually, I think this is the first time we've talked to somebody who had their procedure done 20 years ago. So a testament to the longevity of the Bonati spine procedures.
In today's Back to Life segment, we will talk to a patient of the Bonati Spine Institute who went from living a life that was restricted by pain and discomfort through their journey of finding the Bonati Spine Institute and are now living pain-free.
I want to welcome to the show G.R. Gustafson from Louise, Texas. How you doing, G.R.?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
Good. I got to ask you straight off, what does the GR stand for?
Georgia Ruth.
Ah, I like that. And just, it's all about brevity. GR.
Yeah, and, you know, it takes care of all of three of my grandparents all at one time, so.
Gotcha. Well, let's hear your story, GR. I understand this happened a long time ago, back when you were just a youngster, you were bartending, correct? Tell us what happened.
I had a really bad fall, and at the time, I was young and foolish, didn't have insurance. The company didn't have very good insurance, and basically all they wanted to do was give me pills. Mm-hmm. And so for a couple years, yeah, you know, I took pills on and off, but could really find no relief. It got worse, it got worse, it got worse. I got married. got to where I couldn't use my hands. I mean, my husband joked that I couldn't hardly write a check.
Well, as you were going through this kind of pain, though, what did you do to try to relieve it?
I fell on a cement floor, but like the people that were in the other room heard me hit the floor. I fell so hard.
Wow.
And it messed up something in my neck. I couldn't breathe. I had to go to the hospital. I couldn't even breathe after I fell.
So what was the initial diagnosis when you went to the hospital?
It was really, really crummy. It was that I had some swelling in my back, and I should go see my surgeon. Or not my surgeon, but my doctor.
And when you did that, what was his prognosis, his diagnosis?
Seriously, the guy told me, well, you just bonked your back really bad.
Take some
We'll
pills.
give you some pain pills. It'll go away. You'll be good as new.
And so how long did you live with this pain, taking pills, realizing this isn't working?
Oh, probably close to 7 years.
Sheesh.
Wow. Now, as we talk to patients, I'm always amazed. It has to affect your quality of life, your mindset, everything you do.
Yeah, but it's gradual, so you don't really realize, like, after I woke up from, like, the next day, because you're groggy the first day, but after I woke up and didn't have pain in my arms, it was like a new lease on life. I didn't remember what it was like.
GR, you're jumping way ahead to the actual procedure, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
We got to reel you back to before you even talk to Dr. Bonatti.
I fell. I hurt myself.
Yeah. Well, just describe the pain, because when people are listening, they might hear what your pain was and think, hey, that's exactly what was wrong with me.
The pain was like getting jolted by electricity.
But where on your body?
It started in my elbows,
Okay.
and it went down into my hands.
Well, Jared, let me ask you this then. After suffering for that long, what happened or what made you finally decide, I've got to try to seek relief?
Well, I got to the point where I couldn't hold stuff anymore. And my family's from Florida, and my sister went to Dr. Bonatti.
So tell us about when you reached out to the Institute. What was that initial conversation like? Take us from there.
They said, yeah, I think we can help you. They had, I had sent medical records. I think we can help you. Why don't you come down? And so I went down and stayed with my parents, because I'm from Texas, Went down and stayed at their house and went to see Dr. Bonatti. And actually on the way, I drove straight from Texas, well, not straight, but I drove from Texas to Florida, so I would have a vehicle while I was down there. And ended up, my leg was really bad. And so before Dr. Bonatti even did my neck, I had some facets debrided on my right lumbar area, because I had messed that up, I guess, just driving, and it was so painful, and they could get me in right away. It was like, well, I'm here, let's go for it.
Excellent. So, and again, this was back in what, 96, 97?
96 and 97. I had the leg done in 96 and then early 97, because I think I was in Florida for about 4 months.
Okay. Now,
Long time to be away from home.
Exactly.
But, Dr. Bonatti was very adamant that the aftercare was important.
Perfect.
And so I stayed there and did the rehabbing.
Yeah.
And I think that made, because he says a lot of people will get on a plane a couple days from now and fly away and go home and do rehab wherever. He said, you'll see a difference. And I really do think it made all the difference in the world.
Now let's describe the actual procedure. Conscious IV sedation, you're awake and aware and basically alert, and you can watch the procedure yourself. Did you understand why they use conscious IV sedation, so you could speak back and forth?
Yes, and that's the only reason that I went to see him. I would have never, ever had anything done. I was already living such a handicapped life. I was terrified of having something done and waking up paralyzed.
Everyone reacts a little different to the conscious IV sedation. Do you recall the surgery? Do you recall interacting with the surgeons?
Yeah. Actually, my facet surgery, I would tell them, oh, we could just stop now because I don't want any more. Y'all are fine. So, yeah, you feel, it's not totally pain-free. It's like easy I mean, you can take it.
Right.
I recently fell and broke my L1. I have 35% compression, and I would go through 15 surgeries again over breaking a vertebrae.
Oh, I'm sure.
So 6 feet.
Well, and this was a recent injury, so maybe we'll get you back down here to see Dr. Bonatti. But as we wrap up, GR, tell us what your recovery was like. Describe that, and then basically how you were feeling right afterwards, and over the past 20 years, right up until you just hurt yourself again.
I feel great now anyway. I mean, I walk, talk, and chew gum. God is very good to me.
Coordinated.
I woke up. Dr. Bonatti was actually standing at my bed when I woke up smiling.
Really?
How great is that?
After that initial surgery, and of course there'll be a little discomfort from the surgical site pain, but how long did it take you to start to feel better, to have that recovery?
Within 48 hours. The first day, the first day is hard.
Sure.
But the next day, you're doing okay. The next day, you're doing really good. And, by the end of the week, you forget that it was so horrible.
Unlike traditional back surgeries at the Bonatti Spine Institute, Dr. Bonatti and his staff want the patients up and walking immediately. That first day, they're walking 30 minutes a day.
You also should take note, again, this was 20 years ago, 96. Imagine how much further they've come in evolving these procedures, because we talk to people all the time where they are literally up and walking within a couple of hours of the procedure. Wasn't necessarily the case with you, GR, and of course it's case to case. But would you go ahead and recommend the Bonatti spine procedures to others?
I got up, got dressed and walked out of both procedures.
Yeah.
I was just groggy and,
a little bit. Well, yeah.
You had a procedure.
Exactly.
But I've also had a disc replaced, like traditionally. They cut me open and did that. Oh, my gosh. I would go, and that was done through...
somewhere else.
Control over it. I had to go to their doctors. But I would never go to anybody else besides Dr. Bonatti.
Perfect.
Well, we very much thank you for sharing your story with us today.
For me, and all of you guys who helped carry on his mission, because he's saving lives. And not just the people he operates on, but he's saving lives like, throwing a pebble in a pond.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well put. And normally Dr. Bonatti is here. Unfortunately, he's not today, but we will certainly send your regards.
Vacation.
He's actually doing business, too. It's not even a vacation. That guy never takes a vacation.
I don't think he ever takes a vacation, actually.
I agree. Well, thank you for joining us, GR, and have a great weekend, okay?
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Another successful story. Let's take a quick break. Coming up, Dr. Jordan Axe is going to join us in studio. He's got a new clinic that just opened here in Tampa called the Root Cause Clinic, and we'll hear all about it coming up next. It's American Medicine Today.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonatti created, perfected, and patented the Bonatti spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonatti invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonatti spine procedures, they consistently reflect 98.75% patient satisfaction. 50,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Over half our patients have suffered from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonatti succeeds where others fail.
This is the first time that I am pain-free after 18 years. And it's just wonderful. I love it.
Phenomenal results. No pain whatsoever.
My pain is virtually gone. Nothing short of a miracle.
Those surgeries gave me my life back.
Already, I feel like a new person.
I'm going home new. I can chase my grandbaby now, I can garden, I can cook, and I'm really thrilled. The outcome has been remarkable.
I feel 100% better.
It's like a miracle.
It was phenomenal. It literally did change my life.
I was in a wheelchair at that time, and I left here walking.
Every single pain that I had when I came here is gone.
I'm ready to go home and feel great. This place is great. Thank you.
Everything that they said they would do, they have done, and I'm very, very satisfied and happy with those results.
I knew in surgery, in fact, I told the surgeon when he relieved the pain off the nerve.
The pain is gone. I'm feeling wonderful.
I have no pain. I feel better than I felt in 4 years from the surgery. It was almost immediate relief.
Today I am totally pain-free, which is just amazing. fantastic.
It definitely works. I mean, I really don't know what else to tell you. I'm happy.
American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonati Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonati Spine procedures, Alfred Bonati, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonati and your host, Kimberly Bermel.
It's kind of false advertising there because I am Ethan Euchre, not Kimberly Bermel, and you are Jeff Wagstaff and not Dr. Alfred Bonati, MD.
We're sitting in for Kimberly. Well, we're holding
We're
down
always
the,
here.
We're holding down the fort while Kimberly and Dr. Bonati are spending some time at the brand new Bonati Spine Institute in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Indeed, and pretty cool new holistic health center that recently opened here in Tampa. Joining us in studio is Dr. Jordan Axe of the Root Cause Medical Clinic. Pretty interesting concept where they specialize in prolozone. Jeff and I, no idea what that means, so we'll ask him about it. And stem cell therapy, which we do know a little bit about. So thank you for being here, Dr. Axe.
Awesome, thanks for being on here. Prolozone. It's amazing because it's actually just ozone. We know is 3 molecules of oxygen, and oxygen is what heals our body, right? It's the same reason people get chronic diseases because their body can't get enough oxygen. So by injecting ozone into a tissue, which is it's a fairly new procedure that they're doing. So there's not a ton of research on it yet, but the reason I got into it is someone did it to my wrist from golfing in high school, and my wrist.
Did you have like carpal tunnel or something like that?
Yeah, it was just like this kind of like nagging stiffness. It wasn't that bad, but it was annoying.
Right.
And I had it done once, and my wrist has felt great ever since. And
you were like, I got to look into this.
And it was extremely easy.
So it's intense oxygen therapy for the layman in me.
Well,
yeah.
Ozone is different than oxygen, though, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. The properties are different. You know, they use it to purify air and other things like that. But when you're using it for like a joint, like say you have knee pain, shoulder pain, that is actually increasing inflammation and then decreasing inflammation, which is what you want to heal a joint, right? You want more oxygen, blood supply, and then you want to decrease it.
So very, very cutting edge.
And so where do you get ozone? Because they've been saying for years that we're lacking ozone in our atmosphere. So you got a black market guy that you buy your ozone from?
Exactly. I actually got it from you.
I'm not supposed to blow my cover like that. No, but really, where do you get ozone? I mean, that seems like an odd thing to...
Ozone machine. It's just oxygen tank, medical oxygen, and it converts it into ozone. And it's as simple as putting it in a syringe with... there's special B vitamins and other things you mix it with that are cofactors to heal the joint.
So you liquefy it?
It's a gas when it goes in.
Oh, okay.
Which I hate needles. Okay,
yeah,
like I basically pass out. And I was
not what you expect to hear from a doctor.
That's why I did. I'm not a surgeon, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's not my cup of tea. And I did fine with it because you use the smallest needle possible because it's a gas, right? It's not harmful at all.
And so, what sort of things can you treat with this prolozone? Mostly joint stuff?
Yeah, mostly joint pain. So you have tendinitis or something like that, because the long term it's pulling inflammation out of the joint, right? All chronic disease is caused from inflammation. Over time, that inflammation can lead to different things, autoimmune disease, cancer, right? Because it's chronically inflamed, and the body doesn't like that. So anytime you can bring more healing and pull out inflammation, that area of the body is going to heal better. So think about inflammation as a traffic jam, right? We get a lot of those around here.
We do, absolutely.
And it's, we want more cars in and out, just like we want more red blood cells in and out. The problem is when a traffic jam hits, everything stands still. That's what you call chronic inflammation. It's a traffic jam, nothing's getting in or out. So something like prolozone can kind of trigger that process, pull the inflammation out so that healing can continue.
And how long does that take, the healing process? I mean, is it instant? Does it take a couple of days, weeks?
Prolozone, normally within a week or two, you're feeling quite a bit better, but I say 30 days for most of these kind of things.
Well, Dr. Axe, tell us a little bit about the Root Cause Clinic and what motivated you to practice this type of medicine.
Really, the funny thing is I was in mechanical engineering originally, actually.
Really?
So people are like, why the heck are you doing this? It doesn't even relate. But
what did you kind of do as a mechanical engineer?
Well, I was still in school kind of when I made the switch.
That's what you were studying.
But I love the idea of seeing a problem and like analytically trying to find a solution, right? If you wanted me to memorize things from a textbook, that's not my thing. But I can kind of break down a process and figure it out, and that's exactly what I do with other people.
Well, that's what the human body is.
That's what the human
just
body
another
is.
machine, essentially.
And then I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis when I was 21 years old.
And what is that?
That's an autoimmune disease against your thyroid. And the reason I was diagnosed is because I had chronic sinus infections, allergies, and I was always getting eczema. And I had acne when I was in high school. So it's like these chronic skin conditions that kept getting worse. I just took medications, kind of ignored it.
Which is what everybody does for pretty much everything, is take this pill and deal with it.
Which, didn't really treat the root of my issue. So it continued until it, turned into a full-blown autoimmune disease.
Wow.
And then I was like, there's got to be a better way. Like, I'm 21 years old and getting sicker and sicker. What do you think is happening to the rest of the American people, right? The same thing. And I decided to go a natural route, started studying it, went to a place called Progressive Medical Center. And I really just learned through my own experiences. And I was like, I felt called. I don't want to sit I love engineering, but I felt like I was called to actually make an impact. And I didn't feel like I could do that in engineering as much as I could do by being a doctor.
This is very cool because you really applied the engineering application to medicine, which is a really neat approach.
Kind of the mentality. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we're talking to Dr. Jordan Axe of the Root Cause Medical Clinic. You also do stuff with stem cells. Tell us a little bit about that. I always find it fascinating anytime I see a guest that's using stem cells for different things. And I also always touch upon there's been a stigma since the 90s about stem cells, and it comes from babies and this and that. And a lot of people in 2017 still believe this stuff. But for the most part, you can get stem cells from your own cells. And they're basically dummy cells, right? That can be kind of programmed to become whatever you want them to be, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They can be replicated. So the funny thing is they've been using stem cells for over 100 years. Really? There is peer-reviewed scientific articles dating back 100 years ago with stem cells. But they were using it on wound victims in war. And they're actually putting it on the wounds, and they were healing like way faster.
So what happened? How did that information disappear for 80 years?
Yeah, it was just not something that was very well studied. And they actually figured it out from the placenta, from births. They used that tissue on wounds and saw it healed much quicker. And then the whole thing with the 90s, that happened. But now they're actually able to take it from your own fat cells and extract it and replicate it and use that over and over, actually. Or you can actually take it from healthy C-sections from the placenta, from the baby side. And there is healthy stem cells in there. And they can be cryogenically frozen and used. It's not just the stem cells, it's the hyaluronic acid, all the cofactors. There's just tons and tons of nutrients in there, not just stem cells. That's why we see amazing results in like a week. And we can, because of all the cofactors in there. And then 3-6 months later, we see regeneration potentially because of stem cells. But it's
Dr. X, my wife is currently going through some problems with her knee. She got hurt playing softball a few years ago. She has inflammation and stiffness. And so we're looking into stem cell. One thing that we learn now is that when doctors have you come in, it's a one appointment procedure where they come in, they extract that fat cells, they spin it, and I don't know if I'm using the right technology, but they spin it right there in the office, and then they're able to inject your very own stem cells a couple hours later.
They use a centrifuge, I think is the word you're looking for, Mr. Wagstaff.
Why, thank you.
So you guys, that could be a little bit more PRP, where they centrifuge your blood and they take the platelets. That's platelet-rich plasma, which is used in conjunction with stem cells to get you great results. So that's one thing you'll see, and I love about what I do, is because normally it's not just one thing that gets you better, right? It's a combination of a couple things that really work.
Sure.
But no, stem cells, that's a kind of a long process to actually extract them from yourselves. What you're talking about is PRP.
Well, how do you know then if you're treating something, if PRP's right or if stem cells right? How would you make that determination?
I would say stem cells are kind of the Cadillac, right? If you have the finances, that's the way to go. And unfortunately, it's not covered by insurance at this moment. And that's one of the setbacks that we're seeing.
I gotcha. So we've got about a couple of minutes left, 2 minutes left here. Tell us a little bit more about the clinic, what motivated you to open, what type of problems you treat, aside from prolozone and stem cells. You mentioned before we went on the air, you now have a psychologist on staff. I mean, it sounds pretty interesting at the Root Cause Clinic.
I just, it's really all about giving people hope. I don't know how many people I've seen that, this is my last stop, right? I've tried everything else. I've done physical therapy. I've done chiropractic. They've maybe even already had surgery before. They've seen other functional, they've been to, they bring me like a box of doctor's notes and things like that. And I just enjoy it because I think everyone deserves hope and be able to get their health back, right? Health is your most important asset. If you lose it, you don't have anything. Steve Jobs is a perfect example. So that's where we're hearts at, right? If someone needs something, we're going to figure it out. If I don't have the resource, I'm going to call a psychologist in and bring them in to figure this out, right? So that's all the random things we do are not random. It's so that we can get you well, whether you have an autoimmune disease, whether you have joint pain, whether you have degeneration, or, whatever it is, we have a full team at our clinic to get to the root cause and get you better no matter how much hope you've lost.
Where can people learn more? Give them your website.
TheRootCauseClinic.com.
And I know what people will also want to know quickly. Insurance, do you take it? Do you not? Do people need it?
Most of our services are covered by insurance.
Okay.
And we're all about helping the community and families, so I've never turned anyone down because of finances. So
perfect. Well, we appreciate you stopping by. Very interesting stuff. Dr. Jordan
thank you
Axe
so much.
from the Root Cause Medical Clinic, North Tampa, right?
Yep.
Awesome. All right. Thanks for stopping by.
Check them out.
Yep. All right. Taking a break coming up. We're actually going to check in with Dr. Bonati, and he's going to address some of the latest VA issues. Very timely considering Memorial Day is on Monday. So stick around for what's new in medicine today. It's American Medicine Today.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect 98.75% patient satisfaction. 50,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Over half our patients have suffered from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
This is the first time that I am pain free after 18 years. And it's just wonderful. I love it.
Phenomenal results. No pain whatsoever.
My pain is virtually gone. Nothing short of a miracle.
Those surgeries gave me my life back.
Already, I feel like a new person.
I'm going home new. I can chase my grandbaby now, I can garden, I can cook, and I'm really thrilled. The outcome has been remarkable.
I feel 100% better.
It's like a miracle.
It was phenomenal. It literally did change my life.
I was in a wheelchair at that time, and I left here walking.
Every single pain that I had when I came here is gone.
I'm ready to go home and feel great. This place is great. Thank you.
Everything that they said they would do, they have done, and I'm very, very satisfied and happy with those results.
I knew in surgery, in fact, I told the surgeon when he relieved the pain off the nerve.
The pain is gone. I'm feeling wonderful.
I have no pain. I feel better than I felt in 4 years from the surgery. It was almost immediate relief.
Today I am totally pain-free, which is just amazing. It's fantastic.
It definitely works. I mean, I really don't know what else to tell you. I'm happy.
You're listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonati Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonati Spine procedures, Alfred Bonati, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonati and your host, Kimberly Vermel.
You're continuing to listen to American Medicine Today. I'm Kimberly Vermel, joined by Ethan Euchre,
Glad to be here.
Jeff Wagstaff,
Thanks for having me, Kimberly.
and world-renowned orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Alfred Bonati.
Hi.
Guess what we're celebrating?
What?
Trump's triumphs.
Love it.
the
Take it away, Doc.
You couldn't wait to use that.
Who did that? Who did that?
That would be our very own big rig.
Yeah.
That is good.
Good stuff. But 100 days in office this weekend.
Today.
This weekend.
Oh, Saturday. You're right. Saturday.
Yeah.
Pretty exciting.
Now the exciting is that we have a real president. That's exciting.
Yeah.
So let me tell you how I feel about this, and I want to know how you guys feel. But you know, in addition to all the success that he had, electing the right judge for the higher courts, creating a pathway for tax reforms, replacing judges that they are bad judges for conservative judges, and repealing Obamacare that is on the works and is going to happen. All these things, they must drive crazy the incompetency of all these politicians that for years were unable to do any intelligent repair to this country.
He put them to work for the first time in their lives.
And you know the resistance that you have of the whole Congress and the whole House. I'm not talking about Democrats. I'm talking about both houses, both parties.
I agree.
Is unbelievable how poorly directed the Republicans, how lazy and how incompetent this group. Now, it's unbelievable because you replace these people and you replace with another politician. So we have the same type of a system. We need to start to elect people that they are not politicians to these positions.
But that's part of his drain the swamp
promise.
But he's not draining because there's so much alligators in that swamp that he's coming back.
But he is,
But
little
Doc,
by
the
little, one
crazy part-
alligator at a time.
The crazy part of all of this is that what you're talking about seems so foreign, but it's truly the way the country was developed. People were supposed to come from their industry, go to Washington for a couple years, serve the country, and then go back to what they do.
Correct.
But now we've made it a vocation where people become lifelong politicians. They
corrupt as can be.
I can't use that phrase. But they suck off the system as opposed to contribute to the system.
Well, but that's because it's very comfortable. When you are being elected and you don't have term limits, then the problem is why they are going to leave. Okay, they have a tremendous, incredible life that they are not responsible except just to work for be reelected, and that's it. Well, you know, the beauty is that the executive order that just signed in April 19 for Buy American and Hire American, that is an incredible position for the workers in the country.
Right.
Because it's practically sending a message that say that you are going to allowed to get people that they are going to come to this country, but only if they're going to come to this country is because the country need it. And then is creating permit for the big companies that they need specific type of brains to bring those brains here. Is 85,000 people are being introduced in the country every year, and those people with a special visa, with it absolutely brain necessity in that specific company. That's what he's trying to do.
Absolutely.
And that's incredible. This is what exactly America was before. The people who came here came because the country needed. Otherwise, they didn't.
Doc, something I believe very, very strongly that Trump really is not getting a lot of credit for, but it's so very, very important, is the biggest issues right now of our time, besides the economy, are dealing with North Korea and Iran and kind of that just whole insanity. But for Trump to have brought in Rex Tillerson, which he took a ton of bunk because he came from the private sector, but he's proven to be an incredible Secretary of State, going out and changing not only the way our allies interact with these adversaries, but kind of having a new focus and this patience with countries like North Korea. It's over.
And he did it without a reset button.
But the flag that he's taking is very easy to understand. Mediocrity always will criticize people that they are successful. And Trump told us, I'm going to get the very best people in the country to help the country. Now, he is bringing the best people, but the politicians and the judges and the lawyers and the Democrats, they need to be against, because it's very simple. This gravy train is over. And that is why it's all these attacks.
But it's crazy, too, though, everything you see in the mainstream media, no matter what he does, he can't win. That, you know, he'll make these big strides in the minds of the supporters of Trump, but then the media, all they report, there's always a negative spin that they put to it.
But did you see how laughable it is?
Yeah.
Everything that they criticize is
it's
just common sense.
Right.
Okay? And anybody will go, oh, this is common sense, except the media. But the major trouble with this is he doesn't give a hoot about. He continue with his straight, and that's whatever needs to be done. And the truth is succeeds every time and gets farther and farther in what he's planning.
Trump's triumphs.
He's a steamroller taking over. Well, that's a topic we could continue to talk about for quite some time.
Another 4 years.
Exactly. At least.
Another 20
and
years.
Hopefully another 4 after that. Thank you for joining us on American Medicine today. We are saying goodbye to our flagship station, News Radio 970, WFLA. But if you're an affiliate, make sure you stay tuned, because we're going to talk about never giving up. You wonder what that is? Well, you'll have to stick around. Otherwise, check us out on Bloomberg on Saturdays. We'll see you next time. You're watching American Medicine Today. Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati spine procedures, they consistently reflect 98.75% patient satisfaction. 50,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Over half our patients have suffered from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.
You're listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonati Spine Institute, featuring the internationally acclaimed inventor of the Bonati spine procedures, Alfred Bonati, MD. Once again, here are Dr. Bonati and your host, Kimberly Brumell.
Thanks for listening to American Medicine Today. I am Ethan Euchre, joined by Mr. Jeff Wagstaff.
We're happy to be here. As you might imagine, we are missing Dr. Bonati and Kimberly. They are in Las Vegas at the brand new Bonati Spine Institute. So Ethan and I are trying to hold down the fort.
I think we're doing a pretty good job so far.
So far, so good.
Yeah, indeed. 78% of Americans say they get conflicting advice about what foods to eat and what foods to avoid. And joining us right now is Liz Sanders with the International Food Information Council Foundation. That's a mouthful. To explain a bit about this food confusion. Thank you for joining us, Liz.
Thank you for having me.
Now, it seems like every day that you hear something that you told was good for you is the next day no longer healthy. Why is there so much conflicting information out there?
That is a great question. So as you mentioned, leading up to this interview, 8 in 10 of the respondents for our recent survey said that they encounter a lot of conflicting information about what to eat and what to avoid. And we think this might have to do with the fact that they're getting information from so many different sources, and some of those sources are a lot more trusted than others. So we see that people are getting just as much information from their friends and family on what to eat as they are from health professionals.
Yeah, in fact, it even says here, I'm looking at the survey that we speak of that you all conducted. It says, we rely on advice from friends and family 77% of the time versus health professionals, the news, and the internet. So we take the word of our friends and family over actual health professionals, except then another finding was that most of us don't even trust what we hear from our friends and family.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think that we don't trust our friends and family when we also find that friends and family are having so much of an influence over what we eat. Mm-hmm. So for those people who said that they were following a specific diet, we followed up with them and they told us that their friends and family gave them advice that made them choose that specific diet. So even though friends and family aren't trusted, they're having a huge effect over what we eat.
Now, Liz, for those of us who aren't nutritionists but try to eat healthy, there's some basic principles that I've applied. And looking at some of the research, now I'm questioning if those principles are as strong as I thought they were.
Such as?
For example, I believe that fresh foods are always going to be better than anything that's coming out of a box, anything that's frozen, anything that's coming out of a can. True? False?
Well, it's definitely not always the case. So, for example, frozen foods, packaged foods, like even baby carrots are a packaged food. These have oftentimes the same nutrients and the same components as their fresh counterparts.
And see, I always just believed that fresh was better.
Yeah. Well, in fact, side note, my wife, who grew up in an Italian family, her mother always used everything was fresh garlic, fresh vegetables, never, ever ate anything out of a can. I, on the other hand, grew up a little bit poor, little WT in upstate New York. My mom, no offense to my mom, because she'll be like, what are you talking about? But anyway, she used to almost exclusively feed us vegetables out of a can, canned peas, canned spinach, canned green beans. And my wife always thought that was, when we met, she's like, are you kidding me? Why would your mom feed you that kind of stuff? But you're saying it's not so bad.
Yeah, and especially with all the low sodium varieties of canned foods we have now, it can definitely be a really healthy option.
No, when you say sodium, not to get off track, but when you say sodium, that's been something that I've tried to watch the intake. It's amazing, the sodium. Salt. It's everywhere. It's in
bread.
Salt is. It's like they overuse salt in almost everything. Are the concerns about salt is that legitimate, or that still kind of a controversy?
I think that's a great question, and I think we see a lot of these controversies about what to eat or what to avoid, like reflected in the survey data as well, in terms of what people are avoiding in their diet. We see year after year that people are trying to avoid these things like sodium, saturated fat, and extra sugar.
Another thing that the survey said is that most of us want to lose weight, yet half of us can't name a food that helps them lose weight. Experiment, Jeff. Can you name a food that helps you lose weight?
I cannot.
And I tried to think what my answer would be. I would say probably salad and exercise. So that's half of us that didn't have an answer.
But are there foods, Liz, that promote weight loss?
Well, I think that there are food components that promote certain aspects of weight loss. So weight loss, in a very simple, basic sense, is burning more calories than you're taking in, right? So low-calorie foods like fruits and vegetables can help with weight loss when they're displacing other high-calorie foods. And then you also have food components like protein and fiber, which can help you feel fuller longer and can help you eat less throughout the day.
See, like, to answer your question, Ethan, when you say what foods would help you lose weight, where, I don't know, my mindset is avoid carbs, avoid sugar, and avoid anything processed. Is that pretty good common sense approach, Liz?
Well, I think that what the survey results really show is that we are often really focused on what to avoid, and we might not be prioritizing enough what to eat to get the health benefits we want. So, for example, if you're interested in cardiovascular health, 50% of those who are most interested in cardiovascular health benefits couldn't name a food associated with that benefit. So I think that maybe this shows that we need to shift instead of from what to avoid to what we should be eating to focus on our benefit, and maybe that those foods will start displacing the foods that we are trying to avoid anyway.
Now, you know what I've always thought was, and I'm a living example of this, is that for years I didn't work out because I didn't want to. I was just kind of lazy, to be honest. Would rather not. Who wants to go to the weight room and lift weights and run on a treadmill? And to me, it's so boring. It didn't capture my attention. And then I started training a little bit in martial arts, and I lost 7 pounds the first 3 classes that I did. In over the course of, I think, 2 months, I lost 20 pounds. Didn't change anything else. Didn't change my diet. Still ate pizza. Still drank beer all weekend long.
Just that activity.
It was just the activity, and I shed water weight and this and that. So I did eventually change my food habits and my diet as well. But I mean, how important is exercise even above diet? If it's not, or I mean, if it is above diet, because I tend to feel that it is.
I think they're both incredibly important, and I think that your story just goes to show that when it comes to weight loss, in a very basic sense, we all know that there are lots of other factors like genetics that influence how easy it is for us to lose weight, but it really just is a factor of you're expending more energy than you're taking in. You're expending more calories than you're taking in.
Mm-hmm.
Liz, we have a little less than 2 minutes until we're at a break. For folks who are listening at home, driving in their car, they say, man, it's time for me to start eating healthy. What are some basic principles that you can share with our listeners to get them on the right track?
That's a great question. So with eating healthy in general, we're lucky that we have guidelines that really show Americans how they can achieve a more healthful eating pattern, and the dietary guidelines are a great place to start for that. If you're interested in really taking principles from the dietary guidelines, like those of balance, variety, moderation, and applying them to your diet, then it's really great to seek out expert advice from a registered dietitian, since these are the folks that are most equipped to really help put those principles into practice and help you personalize them for use in your own life.
Pretty extensive information came in the packet with the survey that you all conducted. Where can people kind of read if they want to learn more about this survey?
You can find all of our findings from the survey at foodinsight.org. And also we have a lot of information on a lot of the topics that we talked about today, like weight loss and healthy eating in general.
Foodinsight.org.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Liz Sanders with the International Food Information Council Foundation. Thank you for joining us on American Medicine Today.
Thank you.
Good. Some good information there. But yeah, when I don't know if you did the same thing I did when I looked at the prep that I put together. Right. I was like, Jesus, man, it was like 6 pages of info. So a lot to dive into, but some really good info in there nonetheless. That's it for us, Jeff. We're out of here.
Well, we made it. We flew solo.
We didn't set the studio on fire. Nobody died.
Hey, and whether you're listening today for the first time, you listen to us occasionally, or you tune in every week, we just want to say thank you for spending time with us. Thank you for listening, and thank you for listening to the stations that this station appears on.
Absolutely. And in closing, if you or someone you know is suffering from back pain, neck pain, sciatica, migraines, all of the above, the best in the world, Dr. Alfred Bonati of the Bonati Spine Institute. Get information at bonati.com. We'll see you next time.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonati created, perfected, and patented the Bonati Spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonati invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonati Spine procedures, they consistently reflect 98.75% patient satisfaction. 50,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Over half our patients have suffered from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonati succeeds where others fail.